Hello, my name is Hassan Sorrells, and this is the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast shorts. There's no co-host on these shorts episodes. These are now around 2 to 4 minute, sometimes as long as 6 to 10 minute observations, ideas, thoughts, or rants about the literature, philosophy, psychology, and even the theology of leadership. Because listening to me talk about leadership for now around 2 to 4 minutes is still better than reading and trying to understand yet another business book. Even that business book your coworker won't stop raving about because it quote-unquote changed their life, but you can't see any difference in their leadership behavior. So how good could that author be? Part of the challenge inherent in the genre of science fiction in our postmodern and cynical time is that we live in a Western world mostly defined by technology, technocracy, and technical change at the expense of almost every other vehicle for meaning. Such an environment makes demands on each of us as individuals, which we in the West believe are merely material, but are in fact impacting us at all and on all levels. Most detrimentally, of course, at the spiritual level. Thus, damage gussied up as enlightenment is about to come to a head in the next few years as the glory of large language model algorithms and their progenitors, such as it were, began to be fully anthropomorphized by the very humans who built them. Thus, the words of the psalmist 5,000 years ago come round to be fulfilled yet again in our time. Their idols are silver and gold, the work of men's hands. They have mouths, but they speak not. Eyes have they, but they see not. They have ears, but they hear not. Noses have they, but they smell not. They have hands, but they handle not. Feet have they, but they walk not. Neither speak they through their throat. They that make them are like unto them. So is every one that trusteth in them. Psalm 115, 4-8, KJV. How can authors, creatives, how can we write about and build worlds of imagined glories when our real world is so full of current glories that insist on not fulfilling us? This is one of the key problems that science fiction as a genre once solved for the modernist, humanist, materialist man that had religion at least haunting his footsteps as a shadow. From Star Trek to the writing of Charles Gibson, the undercurrent in all of those works was always that meaningful human engagement would somehow rise to the top, and the machines would serve us as we stepped out, like little G gods, to take our place as masters of ultimate reality. The actual postmodern reality is something somewhat less glorious, which is why our current science fiction writing, both for literature and in other entertainment mediums, is so moribund. You can't imagine a better world when your spiritual sense of what is transcendent is deeply flawed, or non-existent. This phenomenon began with, of course, no black characters in the Jetsons, and continues on into our current era in a fever pitch of imagining technological futures of triumphant sexual identity, merged with the idolatry of ruling reality as the ultimate measure of all things. Where do we end up with this? Well, I think, finally, at the end of all the postmodern denuding and all the desertion of writing principles in favor of adopting the fawning adulation of ideology, we wind up asking the question from that old Yeats poem, "What rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born?" And well, that's it for me. Thank you for listening to the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast today. And now that you've made it this far, you should subscribe to the audio version of this show on all the major podcast players, including Apple iTunes, Spotify, YouTube Music, and everywhere else where podcasts are available. There's also a video version of our podcast on our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe to the video version of this podcast on the Leadership Toolbox channel on YouTube.
Just search for Leadership Toolbox and hit the subscribe button there on YouTube. And while you're doing that, leave a 5-star review if you like what we're doing here on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Just go below the player and hit 5 stars. We need those reviews to grow, and it's the easiest way to help grow this show. And tell all your friends, of course, in leadership. By the way, if you don't like what we're doing here, well, you can always listen to another leadership show. There are several other good ones out there. At least that's what I've heard. All right. Well, that's it for me.